Hello, family. It's DJ Lee, and I'm back. Someone asked a question in one of the chat groups, and they asked me. They said, "Is Panama City a foodie city?" They asked me that. Let me tell you the good and the bad. But first, I'm going to start by saying Panama is not only a foodie city; it's one of the best in the world. I mean, one of the best cities to eat anything you want to eat. They got all your chain restaurants that you see in the States, in Europe. All the big chains are there. But that's not what I'm talking about. They got restaurants everywhere. You go to El Congrejo, San Francisco, Barrio, you go anywhere. They got a lot of restaurants. Now, El Congrejo got them side by side by side. You walk down the streets and you just can't make your mind up. And I don't mean places like, El Trapiche. Don't just go there. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I was there 10 days and I went there three times. I went to the one in San Francisco, the one in El Congrejo, but that might have been San Francisco, the other part. No, it was El Congrejo. But anyway, my whole point is Panama got so many places to eat at that, I stayed 2 weeks. And I'm going to be honest about it. It is tough trying to find a place to have dinner because you got so many options. You got Greek food, you got Chinese food, you got Italian food, and then, of course, you got the Panamanian food. Let me tell you why the food is so good in Panama. Because Panama does not have a national food like people think. A lot of places you go, they have a national food. And let me tell you how I look at that. You got places like Texas, everything is grilled or open fire barbecue, right? California, the national food is anything that you can cook on an open fire. Tennessee, you got the barbecue. Don't get me wrong. In the South, you got grease. Everything got grease in it. Yeah, that's the national food in the South. They buy cooking oil before they buy food. Yeah, but that's the South though. And then they'll lick their damn fingers. But then on the East Coast, you got seafood and all this other stuff, lobster, crabs, and all that kind of good stuff. And you got places, out in the Midwest, you got steaks everywhere. But back to Panama, there's nothing you can want to eat that you can't eat. It's all there for the taking. All the food, I went to a lot of places there because I was eating out 3 times a day, which is kind of crazy when I look back at it. And the reason I say it's kind of crazy because my hotel, the Hotel Rio Plaza, had great breakfast. But yet I still went out for breakfast at other places because I wanted to try them out. And, there are places that people go to like Daiquiri 23. The food is good. But I didn't like the pork chops. They were fried with nothing, they were just dried out. But everything else I had, like the oxtails, are great. And then you got El Trapiche itself. That's authentic Panamanian food. I mean, like I said, it's a little mixture of a lot of different countries. You got Colombian food. Panamanians tend to take foods from other countries and make it their own. They make it their own, and they fuse a lot of stuff together, a lot of different dishes. And seafood. Now, let me tell you about Panama that I'm not a fan of when it comes to Panamanian restaurants and stuff like that. They fry a lot of stuff. They fry stuff just like the South. I'm not a big fried food person, but yet I tried fried pork chops at Daiquiri 23. And that could be why I was not a fan of them because they were dried out. And if you're going to fry things, I understand you want it crunchy because the Panamanians love crunch. Every single bite, you're going to get a crunch. And that's okay for some foods. But everything, don't have to be crunchy. Like in the South of the United States, they'll fry a damn steak if you let them. They'll fry a steak. But anyway, in Panama, I like the idea how many options I had. Now, let's talk about the prices of some of the food. Let's talk about that. Now, here's the kicker of it all. If you get food from a fonda, which I tried a couple times, the food is $3 to $6, and you get a decent meal. I mean, because Panamanians love meat. They love meat, and of course, they're gonna have the plantains and they're gonna have the rice. And the weird thing about when you order food in Panama, you'll get rice and fries on the same damn plate. I like either or. I'm not a big fry person, but I'll eat them. But I just didn't think that I would get them all together on one plate with some beans. That by itself is a full meal before you even touch the meat. They will fry some chicken. Their fried chicken tastes better than the United States. And I think it's because of the grease they use. But I went to a variety of places like Buquete, David, El Valle, and I had chicken in all places, and it was all fried. But it just tastes better than what I can get here back in the States. But now, saying that, in Panama, they give you a lot of side stuff, but they don't do salads everywhere. That was always bothering me. Don't get me wrong. When I did have a salad, it was good. It was good. Every place I went to had good salads, and they had great dressing. The dressing is, in almost every dressing is house made, which I really appreciated because I didn't want to just walk around with bottled dressing all the time, even though I carried my $1,000 there where I went. But let's go back to something though. One thing I told you that I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you the truth. Anytime you go out to eat in Panama, you have to be careful to where you go, not so much in safety, but who the owner is. Because if the owner is an American or expat of any type, you're going to have American prices. Now, I don't like that because the labor charges and the charges to rent those places are nowhere near what they cost in the States. Nowhere near. Because when I went to authentic Panamanian places, and for the same damn thing, it was like a third the price, half the price at the most. El Trapiche proves it every time. You get a nice chicken dinner for $8. You go to a place run by expats, it's going to cost you $18 for the same chicken. Either the expat got bad supplier or crazy suppliers, or the Panamanians is just a lot smarter. I don't know what it is. But I can tell you what I think it is. The expat caters to expats only, and they are going to gouge you. It is just what it is, because I'm like, the food and the labor and the rent the building do not cost what it costs in New York City, but some of the prices are the same as New York City, and expats are going to rip you off. I'm talking about even the ones from Jamaica and a place like El Caribe. That food is expensive for their neighborhood. Every place around there selling pizzas and all kind of other stuff for, a couple bucks or $10 at the most. That place, everything starts at $15, $20. And you're not getting anything special. I'm going to tell you also, that's the same thing with alcohol. You go to an expat place, they're going to charge you American prices. I was paying the same amount there for a drink as I would here for an alcoholic drink. Same amount of money. And so when I go online, that's the other thing too. Most restaurants in Panama do not have a website. No, they do everything on Facebook or Instagram or wherever have you. They don't have websites. So when you see somebody recommend something and you try and pull it up to look at the menu and the prices and stuff, you're not going to find a webpage posting that. You're not going to find it. And, if you are a high-class restaurant or one that think you're high class, you can't just be on social media. Because if you're going to charge me $40 for a steak, you need to have a website. Websites don't cost much money because I have one. Mine is called www.foodandtravel, the number 4, UYOU. Food and Travel for You. YOU.com. And I don't ever advocate anybody going to any place they're not happy with. No, that's not me. Now, saying that, I probably had my best dinner at a place called Daiquiri 23. I like the vibe. I like where it is. And they had more than just a bar menu. They had, because bars don't serve oxtails. Bars don't serve fish. If you do, it's going to be a fish sandwich like McDonald's. But they had more than just that. And the prices were on, I'm not going to say the high side, but they were not on the low side either. They're above the middle, put it that way. But the food was so good and so tasty, you tend to forget about it. And I thought the prices were very, very good for what I got. I mean, I had no problem. And then the thing too about Daiquiri 23 is that the owner is just so friendly, and he talks to everybody who comes in. He wants you coming back, and he shows it. And I like feeling wanted, Now, was that my best meal I had in Panama? No, not at all. Was it in the top 5? Oh, definitely. Definitely. But let me tell you the best place I ate at in Panama, a place called Michael's. I probably eaten in probably 150 different cities, if not more. You're not going to find a better breakfast on this planet than what he offers. You're not going to find that. You're not going to find anything. The breakfast is not only is it big as hell, it's good, and now, and it's local prices. That's the part that got to me. When you order, sausage, French toast, and omelet all on one tray, and it costs you $14, that doesn't faze you at all, because you're going to be full for the rest of the damn day when you go there. He's going to load you up. And it's not just you, but he caters to foreigners in general. But he don't charge you an expat price like some places do. And some places I went, some of the expats brag about it, but it's not worth it. Costco, Vejo, the restaurants there to me are just not worth it. They're not worth it at all. Now, the bars are good bars, but you should never go to a bar to eat. No, that's dumb. You don't go to a restaurant to drink. That's dumb. You go to a restaurant to eat. You go to a bar to drink. And you'll get better prices, better service. And not only that, that is what the people who work there know. Restaurant people know food. Bars, they don't give a damn about food, because the biggest markup is the drinks. And restaurants are just the opposite. They're going to charge a lot for drinks, but they're kind of telling you, you should not have come here to drink. You should have came here to eat. But, like I said, when expats own them, they're not paying stateside wages. They're not doing none of that. But yet they're charging you stateside prices. But Michael's was worth every single penny of it. Now, Daiquiri 23, I know I got my money worth. The drinks was moderately priced. They were not quite stateside. They were probably about 30% cheaper, and maybe even 40% cheaper. But, I ate at other places in Panama, but Panama City has got the most diverse restaurants outside of Phuket. But that's also where they got the most expats, is in those two areas. So that's why, and plus Panama City, I went to Mercado Marisco. They have fish, and man, you got all kind of options. But let me tell you something though about when you go places like that sell 900 different brands of fish, because it's a fish market. Do not go there thinking that when you see sea bass and it costs you $3, that's the same sea bass you get in the States. Not at all. Not at all. Tilapia isn't the same when you get in the States. So don't go there thinking that you're getting the quality that you get from Chile. Chilean sea bass is totally different than the sea bass in Panama. They're both good, but one costs $3 for a reason. The other one costs a lot more for a reason. But back to my whole point is that Panama, whatever food you want, you really can have it delivered to you. I like that. You can have it delivered up until midnight, because I did that. Now, people are going to recommend other places to go to. One place I liked a lot was Finca del Mar. I like that a lot, because it's a bar, but they got some seafood there. I went to other bars in Panama. They had bar food. Your typical chicken wings where you get 6 for $10 and you're getting ripped off because they're not jumbos and they're not very meaty. They're very greasy with a nice crunch to them. But like I said, I don't go to those places hungry either. I go to those places wanting a bite to eat, but not hungry like I would have a steak and potatoes and all that. I don't go there with that kind of appetite. I go there and say, I'll just get something to tide me over to tomorrow morning or later tonight. That's what you go to those places for. But when, if nothing else you remember, when you go to expats like Buquete, when I was in Buquete, every damn place restaurant was owned by expat. You can't have 200, 300 restaurants in a town of 25,000 people, and they all are sustainable. But they do it. They're sustainable because they're charging you a whole lot of money. Now, one thing about Panama that you don't get to see a lot, you don't get people hoovering over you while you eat. No, and I kind of like that. You serve my food, walk away. If I need you, I'll get your attention. I kind of like that. At one point, I was in a place, and it's like the waiter gave me my menu, and she stood there while I read everything on the menu. And I was like, listen, let us read this. We're going to order food. We're going to get a drink. But let us go through the menu. And, it wasn't a lot of action going on when she was doing it. I just felt like she was rushing me. And I'm thinking to myself, just sit back for a second and I'll order my food. Now, most restaurants in Panama, you don't get a chance to see the chef. There's no window. There's no, even you go to the bathroom, you don't get a chance to see the chef. And, why they put the bathroom on the same side of the ovens and stoves, I ain't figured that part out yet. Maybe just a fire prevention thing, or maybe that's just where the water is. I haven't figured it out yet. But like I said earlier, you're gonna get your money's worth if you go to certain places, and don't be afraid to venture out to places that is not a chain or no one recommended. We found some great places to eat at. No one recommended those places. I'm not a big fan of Yelp because people lie. People lie. People tell you how great something is, and they probably work there and want you to come in and get your business. Yeah, that's how a lot of Yelp stuff do. And I used to write reviews until one day on TripAdvisor, I wrote a negative comment and my review got edited. I've never written a review then. I post them on YouTube, and if you dial into this channel, you'll see I post a lot of stuff about food, and you'll see I do a lot of different things. But as far as writing reviews that someone else can touch before I post it or publish it, I don't do that anymore. Now, one of the other things too, a lot of people in Panama, expats, they go where other expats go. They do that a lot. And, if that's your favorite place because it's the music you want, the crowd you want, I get that. I like to explore. I like to every day go at least one different place and at least one different restaurant. I like to do that. That's more of my lifestyle. When you leave America, you should leave America. If not, just stay in America and do what Americans do. Nothing wrong with that at all if that's your comfort zone. My comfort zone is like Tarzan. I go from tree to tree to tree. I want to explore everything in the jungle. And Panama allows you to do that because Panama City is big enough that, you can go sample something different for a whole year, a different restaurant every day for a whole year, and never go to the same one twice. You can do that in Panama. You can do it in Buquete too, but you're going to get ripped off everywhere in Buquete if an expat owns it. But Michael's is owned by an expat in Panama, but he charges you prices that similar to what a Panamanian restaurant would charge you. Yeah, so it's a whole different ball game there. Now, if you go there and you see a menu in English, you should worry. If the entire menu is in English, you should worry because that's who he's catering to. He's not catering to Panamanians, and I like to know where they go so I can eat what they eat, and I get a vibe for that too. I like to say, where do the Panamanians eat breakfast at? Do they even eat breakfast? Because you go to Italy, they're not big on breakfast. They get a piece of bread and coffee or whatever it is, and they're fine. To me, it's not breakfast if it ain't got bacon or ham or sausage, some kind of meat. If it ain't got that, it is not breakfast. It's just a damn snack to get you to your next meal. But don't call it breakfast though. It's a big deal to me with that, because I've been places and people say, I got a continental breakfast. No hotel I went to or stayed at in Panama had just a continental breakfast. They had I'm talking about full out breakfasts with every single fruit you want, every single egg you want, all the bread you want, all the meat you want. That's the breakfast. That's what I expect. At the Hotel Riu, I was there, and I was there for 10 days, and 3 days in a row, they had no damn bacon. Yeah, it was sad. It was sad. It was sad. But, so I ended up not eating the free breakfast in the hotel. Now, they had a nice spread, and they were trying to do it for other countries and other nationalities. But guess what? I don't give a damn about none of that. I want me to eat what me wants to eat. That's how I feel. But in hindsight, I should have asked, you stay at an international hotel. They have international foods for everybody. I just want to know which days I was not going to eat in advance. Then I could have did a little more research versus doing research on the go while I'm hungry. That's never good either. That's never good either. So in Panama, go to where you feel comfortable, talk to people you know, but also for us, the number one thing is explore on your own. You'd be surprised at what you find. You walking down the street, you see a little hole in the wall. I like hole in the walls, especially barbecue joints. Oh, in Panama, they are not big spare ribs people. They like baby backs. Baby backs, I don't know. It's not me. I'm a spare rib person. But, overall, Panama is one of the top 10 greatest cities in the world for foodies. Even if you're a vegan or vegetarian, you got all that stuff there. They got food for everybody. You name it. Now, the one type of food I did not see, I did see Mediterranean, but I didn't see Persian food. What I seen was a lot of Lebanese. I seen that. Now, you got a lot of Jewish folks in Panama, and I'm not sure how much they eat out, but they seems like they're pretty healthy to me. So this is DJ Leon D. We talk about Panama is truly a foodie city, one of the best in the world, and you will not regret it if you take my advice I just gave. Peace.